So should we be getting our understanding of the law from those who do not know Yahweh? Should we? So should we be following rabbinical Judaism and the interpretation of Judaism when it comes to the law? So therefore, I'm going to question their paradigm that the book of the law and the book of the covenant are the same. Because I don't trust their interpretation. Scripture tells me not to. Should we be getting our understanding of the law from those who do know him, but then follow the interpretation of those before who don't know him? No. And that's where the Messianic roots group come in. They're getting their understanding of the law from those that don't know him. So we shouldn't follow that interpretation either, because Jeremiah had the understanding, and you and I have the understanding. We have the greater wisdom because we have the revelation of the Son. Therefore, we should be on the narrow road of life and a narrow road of interpretation. Thus I question and I say the book of the covenant and the book of the law are two separate books. The book of the law was added once the book of the covenant was broken because of transgression. We're really on a Melchizedek narrow road between two broad roads of lawlessness and rabbinicalism. And it gets narrower and narrower the more you walk with him. It truly does. You see, traditional Christian theology understands the law verses in the New Testament to mean that believers are not under any Old Testament precepts or laws, because now you've got a new economy of grace. The law was something that the Jews did and still do, and it's simply not for you. In essence, the baby has been thrown out with the bathwater. The baby, which is law contained in covenant, has been thrown out with the bathwater, which is imposed book of the law. You see? And we've ended up with the very lawlessness in the church that the Apostle Paul warned us about 2,000 years ago. And it's rampant because nobody is holding on to the commandments. If you love me, you'll be in his word and you'll find out what he wants you to do. James chapter 2, verse 8. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. The royal Torah is from the scripture, and it's the law of fidelity love, which is faithfulness to covenant. Because we think about that verse, about fidelity and love, and we think about it from one individual to another. But in the scriptures, ultimately, fidelity is not about me being faithful to you, but us as a whole, as a body, as Israel, finally repenting and being faithful to who? So the royal law isn't about, I just love my neighbor, when no one's looking and, nobody can hold me accountable. That's all I do to fulfill the royal law. I just love my neighbor. No. Loving truly is about fidelity, and it's about us as a whole, Israel, the olive tree, returning to Yahweh and being faithful to him. Faithful to the covenant is faithfulness to Yahweh. Then on the other road, we've got this Levitical law and rabbinical Talmudic interpretations of the Torah and a whole slew of Jewish and Pharisaic Torah deception. Teaching the return to Torah, sure, but they're erring, not making a distinction between covenant Torah, which is royal, which is kingly, which is the book of the covenant, and imposed Levitical book of the law. You see, the book of the covenant was agreed to. The book of the law was never agreed to. It was imposed upon them. Or they could die. You see, whereas the book of the covenant was, yes, Yahweh, all that you say we will do. There was a proposal, there was an acceptance, there was a blood ratification and a covenant confirming meal. But that wasn't apparent with the book of the law because it was imposed. So we find the lawless road and this non-division of Torah on this road. We have the two broad roads, but these two broad roads, though we may think, oh yes, one's lawless and one's into rabbinical Torah, they do agree on one thing. Not the deity of Yeshua, not that he's the Messiah. Oh no, they certainly don't agree on that. But they do have one thing in common. They both believe, with differing results, but still destructive results, that the book of the law and the book of the covenant are the same and synonymous. Whereas I challenge you and I, if Yahweh says they're the same, why would he give them two different names? Why would there be an Ark of the Covenant, which was called the Ark of the Covenant because inside it housed the... And then outside the Ark of the Covenant, Deuteronomy tells us, was the book of the law, which was a witness against them because they broke the covenant. Once the death penalty position's paid and you and I enter into royal covenant, is it witnessing against us anymore? No. So Paul was right. You are not under the book of the law. But we have to understand that's what he meant.